Hello everyone! In this video today we're going to be crocheting a pink checkerboard. This is part 7 of the Learn to Crochet series. If you're new here, I'm currently filming some beginner-friendly crochet videos. I'll put the link to the playlist with all of them in the description box down below. The idea is you can kind of just tune into whichever parts you're interested in. If you are an absolute beginner though, I'd recommend watching parts 1 through 3 in order first, and then afterwards you can kind of skip around as you would like. In the last part, which was part 6, we went over how to crochet in rows and we were using single crochet stitches. If you haven't crocheted in rows before, I probably would watch that video first. I've been trying to add some small pattern videos into the series. So for this one today, this little swatch is kind of like a small version of the pink plaid pillow pattern that's free on my blog. So I'll put the link for that pattern in the description box down below. And then one thing I wanted to point out before we get started, this swatch that I have on the table here is not the one that I'm actually making in the video. This is the one that's in the video. So the difference is this one has 3 colors. It alternates between hot pink and light pink, and then light pink and cream. This is how I made the pillow, but the pillow has more checkers per row in it. For some reason, when I made the smaller version as the swatch, originally I had 3 rows. And it's kind of like an optical illusion. It starts forming this pattern with these crosses with the hot pink background. So I added on another row, and then the same thing kind of started to happen where you see crosses with the cream background. So I'm not sure why that happened. In this video, I explain how you can adapt this pattern if you want to make it longer. So if you want to make a blanket or a scarf, or if you want to follow along with the pillow pattern. If you're doing that, you should be perfectly fine using the 3 colors. I'll put a picture of the pillow on the next slide so you can see it. But if you're just making the swatch, what I would recommend is just sticking to the hot pink and the light pink, or just any 2 colors that you would like. The only difference is going to be just in the video when I say grab your cream skein of yarn, you'll pick up the hot pink ball of yarn again. I'll put a little note in the video to remind you of that. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we're going to begin with the slip knot. How I normally do it is I take my index finger and lay the yarn over it, then wrap the yarn around again and tuck it between your first and second finger. It'll look like an X, so you pull up on the yarn that's on the right, and then you pull the yarn that's on the left through. Then I'm going to chain 32. This pattern repeats every 6 stitches, so if you want to make a larger swatch, just make sure whichever number you chain is a multiple of 6, and then you'll add 2 to it. So for the swatch that I'm making, 30 is a multiple of 6, since 6 times 5 is 30, and then if you add 2 to 30, you get 32. So for a chain, you'll yarn over, pull through. That's 1 chain. We're going to chain 32, so yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, Alright, so I've chained 32, and now we're going to begin working some double crochet stitches. That's a US crochet term. If you're from the UK, you'd refer to this as the treble stitch. So we're going to work our first double crochet into the 4th chain from our hook. So remember, this loop that's on your hook, that does not count as a chain, so you'll count 1, 2, 3. Those 3 chains are going to count as our first double crochet stitch. So we're going to work the first double crochet into the 4th chain from our hook. So you'll yarn over, insert your hook just underneath the top loop of that chain, yarn over, pull through. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, so yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we're going to repeat that into each of the following chains. So into the next chain, you'll yarn over, insert your hook just underneath the top loop of the chain, yarn over, pull through. You'll have 3 loops, so yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I'll show that again. So in the next chain, you'll yarn over, insert your hook just underneath the top loop, yarn over, pull through. You'll have 3 loops, so yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we're just going to repeat that into each of the following chains. Alright, so I have one more chain to work into. And that's the end of row 1. You should have a total of 30 stitches. Remember, the chain 3 at the beginning counts as our first double crochet stitch. So if you want to go back and count your stitches, you'll have a chain 3 and then 29 double crochet. And then we're going to go ahead and fasten off. You'll want to chain 1, so you'll yarn over, pull through. Then we're going to cut the yarn. So you just want to cut the yarn, leaving a little tail, and then you'll pull it through. So that's the first row. For the next row, I'm going to be alternating between hot pink and light pink for the checkers. So then to start the second row, you'll find your last double crochet stitch of row 1, and we're going to insert our hook into the top of the stitch. So it'll be underneath both the front and the back loop of that stitch. Then I'm going to grab the hot pink yarn and just lay it over the hook. So you want to leave a little bit of a tail that we're going to weave in at the end. And then we'll pull the yarn through. Then from there we're going to chain 3, which will count as our first double crochet. So you'll yarn over, pull through, 2, 3. If your first chain seems a little bit loose, that's okay, because when we weave this tail in at the end, that will help secure it. So then we can go ahead and flip the work. We're going to work a total of 6 double crochet with the hot pink. The first one we're going to work into will be the second to last double crochet stitch of the previous row, and that's because that chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So you'll yarn over, insert your hook. Remember, when you insert your hook, it'll be underneath both the front and the back loop. Then you'll yarn over, pull through. You'll have 3 loops, so yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So again, we're gonna work a total of 5 stitches with the hot pink first, because then during the last hot pink stitch, we're gonna switch to the light pink. So in the next stitch, you'll yarn over, insert your hook underneath both the front and the back loop, yarn over, pull through. You'll have 3 loops, so yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We need to work 2 more double crochet with the hot pink. Then during our last double crochet with the hot pink, we're going to switch to the light pink. So what we'll do is we'll start to work that double crochet. We'll yarn over, insert your hook underneath both the front and the back loop, yarn over, pull through. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through 2 like you normally would. Then I'm going to take this hot pink yarn and move it in front of the work and grab the light pink and lay it over the hook. Once again, you want to leave a little bit of a tail there to weave in. And then we're gonna pull through those 2 stitches with the light pink. Then from there, the next 6 double crochet, we're gonna crochet with the light pink. So we'll yarn over and insert our hook into the next stitch. Both of these tails, you can see I'm holding them against the front side of the work, which means when I insert the hook, they're both sitting on top of the hook and they're in front of all of those cream stitches we just crocheted. That way they'll end up on the inside of the work. So we'll yarn over, pull through. We'll have 3 loops on our hook. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. The reason why we're holding these tails against the front side of the work is because whenever we're crocheting an even numbered row, that's going to end up becoming the back side of the work. So we don't really care if we can see that yarn that we're holding a little bit. When we work the odd numbered rows, we'll hold it against the back side of the work, so it'll be behind the stitches that we're crocheting. And then that way, that side of the work will become like the front side of the work that you see. So for our next stitch, we'll yarn over, insert our hook. Once again, those tails are in front of the work. Yarn over, pull through. You'll have 3 loops, so yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Alright, so we're going to crochet 3 more double crochet stitches with the light pink. Just to make sure that you can see, so that yarn that we're carrying, it's in front of the cream stitches and you'll always see it on top of your hook whenever you insert your hook. So you'll yarn over, pull through, you'll have 3 loops on your hook, so yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So I've crocheted 5 double crochet with the light pink. During the very last double crochet is when we're going to change color to the hot pink. So we'll begin to work the double crochet stitch. We'll yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over, pull through. You'll have 3 loops, so yarn over, pull through 2. Then I'm going to take this light pink tail and just move it out of the way. At the end, we'll weave that in the other direction. Then you'll drop that light pink yarn in front of the work and grab the hot pink. And then we'll use the hot pink to yarn over, pull through 2. Then the next 6 double crochet stitches will be with the hot pink. So this time when you go to work a double crochet stitch, you'll see that light pink yarn you're holding against the front of the work. So it will be above the hook when you insert your hook. So you'll yarn over, pull through. So it was only for that first section we also had that light pink tail that we were holding against the work. Normally you'll only have 1 strand of yarn that you're holding. So then during that 6th double crochet stitch, you'll drop the hot pink yarn and then grab the light pink yarn to complete that final yarn over, pull through. Then you're just going to continue this down the row depending on how many checkers you're working. I have 2 more checkers to work, and then I'll meet you at the end of this row. So I'm currently working that last hot pink section. I've worked the first 3 of the 6 stitches while holding that light pink yarn against the work. And now I'm going to drop the light pink yarn, so I'll just leave it where it's at. I'm not going to hold it while I work the last 3 stitches. So I'll go ahead and just work the last 3 double crochet. And remember, since we're counting this chain 3 as the first double crochet, at the ends of the rows you'll work into the top of that chain 3. So you're just going to be inserting your hook into the third chain of the chain 3. So you'll yarn over, insert your hook into the third chain, yarn over, pull through. You'll have 3 loops, so yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we're going to chain 3. Now I don't think with the angle that I'm filming at that you guys can see the yarn that's on the table. So I currently have the light pink yarn on the left and then the dark pink yarn on the right. So when I go to flip the work, I'm going to pick up the dark pink yarn and just wrap it around. And so it's still going to be that the dark pink is on the right and the light pink is on the left, but that way they won't get tangled. Then for this next row, remember the chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So the first stitch we're going to work into will be this second double crochet right here. So you'll yarn over, insert your hook. Then we're going to double crochet into the next stitch. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up that light pink yarn and start carrying it again. But now we're currently working in odd numbered rows since this is row number 3 of our swatch. So we're going to hold it against the back of the work this time. And the reason why I like to drop that yarn before the last 3 stitches of the row is because then you won't see that yarn on the sides of the work at all. So when we yarn over and insert our hook, you'll see that light pink yarn against the back of the work. You can see on the back side where I've lifted it up, but since that's the back side of the work, we don't have to worry if we can see that yarn a little bit. So then we'll yarn over, pull through. And then we're just going to continue on like we did for the previous row. So it's going to be 2 more stitches with the hot pink. And during that last stitch with the hot pink, we'll grab the light pink yarn and pull through. Then now while crocheting with the light pink yarn, you'll hold the hot pink against the back side of the work. So you can go ahead and just continue on like this for the row. It's going to be just like how we worked the previous row, except for that yarn that you're carrying is going to be against the back side. Then I'll meet you at the end of the row. It should be pretty easy to count the stitches now because you're always working, like when you're working into a light pink stitch, you'll be crocheting with the light pink. When you're crocheting into the hot pink stitches, you'll be crocheting with the hot pink. And then one thing I wanted to point out real quickly, so right here when I'm about to change color to the hot pink, a lot of times this might look a little bit loose and you might be tempted to pull on the yarn. If you pull on the yarn tightly whenever you change color, what's going to happen is your rows are slowly going to become tighter and then the sides of the work won't be straight. So just make sure when you're changing color, even though sometimes it looks a little bit loose, just go ahead and keep crocheting. Don't pull tightly on those strands. I'm currently working that last hot pink section. I've worked the first 3 stitches. So once again, I'm just going to drop the light pink yarn. This time it's on the back side of the work, so you'll just leave it where it's at. We're not going to hold it against the work for the last 3 stitches. And then don't forget, so the last stitch of the row that you're going to be working into will be into the top of the chain 3. So you'll insert your hook into the 3rd chain. So that's the end of the 3rd row. We'll go ahead and chain 3 again. Then we're going to flip the work. I'm going to pick up that hot pink yarn once again, which I have on the right, and just move it around. Let me see. We'll lift it up over the work. So So it's on the front side, and then that light pink yarn now should also be on the front. Once again, the entire time that I'm crocheting, I'm always keeping the hot pink yarn on the right side and then the light pink yarn on the left. So now for this next row, that chain 3 counts as the first double crochet, so we'll double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Then we're going to start carrying the light pink again, so you'll just take the light pink and lift it up so it's against the work. Then when you yarn over and insert your hook, once again we're working in even numbered rows, that yarn should be in front of the work and you'll see it above your hook. So you'll yarn over, pull through. You might be able to see where you've lifted that light pink yarn up, but that's okay because remember, this is going to become the back side of the work. And then from there, you can just continue on with this row as we were before. Remember, whenever you're holding the yarn this time, it's going to be against the front of the work. Alright, so I'm at the end of the 4th row here. Once again, I didn't hold that light pink against the work for the last 3 stitches. So this is the last row for like this first portion of checkers. So we can go ahead and fasten off. What you'll do is you'll chain 1 and then cut the yarn. So you'll want to leave a tail that will weave in at the end and then pull through. And then same thing, I'm also going to cut the light pink yarn. So once again, leaving a tail for us to weave in at the end. Now for this next portion that we're going to work, we're going to be alternating between the light pink and the cream yarn. So now we'll insert our hook into the top of that last double crochet stitch that we just worked. So make sure it's underneath both the front and the back loop. Then we'll grab our light pink yarn and just lay it over the hook. And pull through. Now I chose to cut the light pink yarn at the end here and then rejoin it again. The reason why is because double crochet stitches are so tall that if you held this light pink yarn against the work and then during this last stitch switch to the light pink yarn, so that's like how up here during the row we used the light pink for the last like yarn over pull through 2 loops. If you do that at the end of the row, a lot of times you're going to see the light pink yarn on the sides of the work because these stitches are so tall. If you were using a shorter stitch, so something like single crochet stitches, it wouldn't really make a difference and it's fine if you change color at the end of the row. But for double crochet stitches, I normally like to cut the yarn and then join it again up here, even though that means you'll have more ends to weave in. It's just going to make the work a little bit neater. So once again, we're going to chain 3. Then we'll flip the work. And then I'm going to grab the light pink tail and just hold it against the work for the first few stitches. So once again, that first double crochet stitch we're going to work into will be the second to last stitch of the previous row. We have one more stitch here, so this is when we're going to change color to the cream. So I'm going to move that light pink tail that I've been holding against the back of the work just out of the way. Then we'll grab the cream yarn and lay it over the hook and pull through. Then from there you'll be holding the light pink strand of yarn and the cream tail against the back side of the work. So when you go to insert your hook, you'll see them above your hook. So you can go ahead and just continue on with the pattern for this row, and then the next 2 rows is going to be alternating between the light pink and the cream. You just want to remember that whenever you're working an odd numbered row, which will be this row that we're currently working on, and then the 3rd row of this like section of the checkers, you're going to be holding the yarn against the back of the work. For the even numbered rows, so that will be the 2nd row, you're going to hold it against the front side. And then just remember, when you get to the last like 3 stitches of the row, you won't want to hold that yarn against the work. So you can go ahead, continue on with this row and then 2 more, and then I'll meet you at the end of those rows. Alright, so I've finished working the next section of the checkers, so I'm going to go ahead and fasten off. So remember, you'll want to chain 1 and then cut the yarn. And then pull through. Make sure that you leave a tail so you can weave it in at the end, and then same thing, I'm going to cut the cream yarn. So then for the next section, we're going to be alternating between the hot pink and the light pink again. So you'll just insert your hook into that last double crochet stitch that we just worked, and grab the hot pink yarn and lay it over your hook and pull through. Then we'll chain 3 and flip the work. Then while working those first couple stitches, I'm going to hold the hot pink yarn against the front side of the work since this is an even numbered row. Then when it's time to change color to the light pink, once again you'll just take the light pink yarn and lay it over your hook. Now remember, we're currently working an even numbered row, so you'll hold the yarn that you're carrying against the front side. So I'll grab the hot pink, I'm going to move the tail out of the way. But now it'll be against the front side of the work, and then crocheting the rest of this section should just be like at the beginning when we were alternating between the hot pink and the light pink. So I'm at the end of the 3rd row of this section, so I'm going to chain 1 and then fasten off. So for this video, I'm just going to work 3 sections of checkers for this little swatch, but if you wanted to, you could continue on, especially like if you want to make a scarf, you could do that and just keep adding more rows. But what I'm going to do is I like when the beginning matches the end, so I'm going to work 1 row of double crochet stitches with the cream. So for that, you'll just find the last double crochet stitch from the previous row, lay the cream yarn over the hook, and then pull through. Then we'll chain 3 and flip the work, and then into each of these stitches from the previous row, we'll just work a double crochet with the cream. I'm gonna hold the tail against the back side of the work just for the first few stitches. And I'm at the end of the row here, so I'll just go ahead and chain 1 and then fasten off. And then if you need help with weaving in all the ends, I have a separate video for weaving in the ends on my YouTube channel, so I'll put the link for that video down below. So that's the full pattern for the pink checkerboard. Just so you know, the method that we're using to change color here is called tapestry crochet. So if you ever find a pattern in the future that says that you need tapestry crochet to change color, you now know how to do it. And then don't forget, so I'll put the links for both this swatch and for the pillow pattern in the description box down below. I think the only thing that's different about the pillow pattern is that whenever I'd finish a section of checkers, I wouldn't always flip the work. So you might notice that that's a little bit different, but otherwise it's very similar to making this swatch. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the patterns.